I think that the key thing is to understand exactly what you plan to do in the United States. Are you going to have employees here in the U.S.? Are you going to have other sorts of operations, like an office here, or a facility of some kind, like a manufacturing facility? How often are you going to be here? Do you have customers here? Are you going to be generating revenues? Are you going to need to have bank accounts here in the United States? And I think that if the answer to those questions is yes, then you're better off setting up a company here in the U.S. To run those operations and to house those operations, rather than trying to do those things from a company that's a foreign company. Because there's a lot of reasons for that, but one of the reasons is that you would be subjecting the foreign company to potential liabilities here in the United States. And it's just a lot easier to employ people, to get bank accounts, to start your operations here in the U.S. if you have a U.S. company to do that under. The other situation where you may find that you need to set up a U.S. entity, even if you don't have, you don't expect to have really any operations in the United States, is when an investor or a big customer or strategic partner sort of tells you to. And that's an important thing to keep in mind, because a lot of times businesses will not necessarily have people on the ground here. If it's an internet-based business, maybe they'll have a lot of customers here, but they're not, they don't have sort of marketing people on the ground or other sort of operations that are actually local in the US, and they're just sort of on the internet. And if it's that type of business, depending on the circumstances, you may not need to form a US entity. But a situation where often people will do so anyway is if they're looking to get investment from United States investors, from venture capital funds or other sorts of investors that are based here in the United States. Because a lot of times those investors will really require you to be a US company. They'll just feel more comfortable investing in a US company than they would investing in a foreign company. That's not always the case, but it often is. And the only thing that I always advise people about when they're in that situation is just to give it some thought and talk to a tax lawyer and understand what the consequences would be for you of bringing your intellectual property and sort of subjecting all of your revenues and your business to the US tax system. Because the taxes in the United States are high, and a lot higher than other countries. So got to give it some thought and make sure that it really makes sense for you if you're not going to be actually operating here in the US.